What is up? Welcome to Tuesday at noon, exactly noon today. And I got the old school Coach Catalyst hat on today. So I got a little throwback hat. Hopefully, you're able to see that, the old CCs. And it is Tuesday. It's noon. My name is Trevor, and I'm the CEO of Coach Catalyst. And I'm here to help you run a better business and become a better coach. So this month, our theme at Coach Catalyst is all about the client experience. Now, when I was planning out this month, I had a different topic that I wanted to talk about today. But I do these things called strategy calls for Coach Catalyst coaches. When a coach is stuck or they want to talk about some stuff, we jump on a quick 20-minute call. And I had a call yesterday with a coach by the name of Darlene, who is absolutely killing it. She's on her kind of second career, and she has more clients that she can handle. She is using TikTok as her lead source, which has been going great, moving them into front-end offer, 3-day trials or 3-day challenges, 7-day challenges, some different things, and then moving into core coaching offers and doing awesome. Brand new coach this year, killing it, over 50 clients now this year, and just doing awesome. But with growth and with quick growth come issues, right? They're good issues to have. I'd rather have issues with growth than issues with no growth, but you start to have some issues. So this started to get me thinking, because we had a great conversation and we helped her come up with some strategies that are going to help her become a little bit more efficient in her day-to-day. And I thought those would be really helpful for you as a coach. So today is all about finding your coaching rhythm. And although the theme this month is all about client experience, part of a client experience is you as a coach having some fun and finding your rhythm. And what I've found in a lot of coaches that I've talked to, and even me personally, we have this kind of like ADD entrepreneur mind where we're jumping from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. You probably can relate. And we have a hard time. We feel like there's just so much going on because we're always task switching. My goal today with this episode is to help you find a rhythm in your coaching. If you're an online coach, if your main offering is virtual, we need to find a rhythm in our day and in our week. And if we don't, we're going to be constantly jumping from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And today we're going to talk about some common pitfalls that I see coaches have. We're going to look at some strategies inside of Coach Catalyst where you can really use the system to help organize and ultimately just make sure that you have the bandwidth to be able to coach clients. Now, most coaches are going to really start running into issues. If you are coaching full time, if you're coaching half-time or part-time, you can cut this number in half. But most coaches will start running into issues around 30-ish clients. So if you have 30 clients, you are going to start feeling like my plate is full. Once we get into 40 and when we get into 50 clients, we're going to feel like we're in overdrive a little bit and we're working a lot, especially if we don't have good systems down. And so when I'm talking with coaches, when we're helping them figure out where they want to go and how to best get there, we need to think with the end in mind. And this is a mistake that I made personally early on in my career, and a mistake I see a lot of coaches make as well, because the metric we have is more, and that's the metric we strive for and we optimize for is more. When more isn't necessarily better, because you're going to hit a point where more, you don't even want more, because more is going to mean more work. And so if we build with the end in mind, we can build something that is sustainable rather than more, because more isn't always sustainable. And we have to think about what we want to build. Do we want to build the next great coaching agency where we are going to employ other coaches, assistant coaches, VAs, and have a nice team, and we're going to try and hit 6, maybe 7 figures in revenue, right? That's a different rocket ship than I want to build a really, really, really nice coaching business that has high profit margins, that allows me to serve people at a very high level, but also allows me to live the life that I want to live. So maybe a little bit more of like a lifestyle business. Any of these businesses, most of them aren't necessarily what we would call sellable assets. So they're not enterprise. There's not companies that are gobbling up these kind of things unless you build it really, really, really big. Right? There are a few examples of this in the industry, but where someone built up a very large coaching agency and then sold it to another organization. That is possible, but it's not the norm. So what I would encourage you to do is think about lifestyle optimization. Coaching is something awesome that you can do even in your part-time. If you want to just have 5 or 10 clients, you can. And that can create an additional 2,000, 5,000 in revenue, right? Depending on what our price points are. So a lot of coaches are feeling like they're all over the place. They might be feeling like they're starting to burn out. So the first place I would start is your offerings. What are your offerings? And when I look at most coaches' businesses, they have way too many of them. And 3 is too many. Even 2 is really too many, right? One offering. What is your offering? Who do you serve? How do you help them serve it? Or how do you help them serve it? Who do you serve? How do you help them solve their problem? Okay, one offering. Once you're generating 3, 4, 5,000 a month in revenue, I may even argue more than that. Stick with the one offering. Because every time you add another offering, it magnifies the chaos, right? It adds another thing to do. We have another ball in the air that we have to try and keep up. So most coaches that are feeling overwhelmed or that are feeling burned out, if you were to truly look at your offerings, if you were to look at what are my offerings right now and how much revenue am I generating per offering, you would find that one is doing way better than all the other ones. Kill the other ones. Simple as I kill the. But it's easy, very easy for me to say here on the other side. It's not my business, right? And so you have to have a plan moving forward. We're not just going to tell those clients, hey, we're done with it, but we can give those clients a grace period into our other offerings. We can provide a way to still provide value for them, or we can find a way to still provide value for them as they may transition away. And a lot of coaches try to create this low-hanging fruit, not this low-hanging fruit, a low-priced offering. And that is typically the offering that causes the most headache because they are clients that ask a lot, but don't necessarily give a little. And most of our issues come from that offering. So most coaches early on, the way that we're recommending things right now and the way that I see the best businesses running is figuring out your signature offer. What is your thing? What problem do you solve and who do you solve it for? And then what does solving that problem look like? Is it 4 weeks? Is it 8 weeks? Is it 12 weeks? Is it 16 weeks? Is it a year-long program? Is it phase 1? Is it phase 2? Is it phase 3? But can you build the solution for the problem? And that is your offering. We don't have all of these up and downs and sideways sells. This is the offering. We might have a variation on that offering if I do have a brick and mortar where they're coming in person, or maybe there's just a virtual component to it. But one offering. And then after you've run enough people through that offer, if on the back end of that, you want to create a recurring continuity type model, we can create a maintenance program that once people have graduated from your main program, they move into the maintenance program after that. If you want to create a lower ticket, quote unquote, type of offering, it's better to travel that way than it is to just start with your lower ticket. Because here's the thing. When we create something that has a specific time frame, it solves a very specific problem, it's easy for us to charge more because the client understands how long they're in it for, right? If I just sell coaching, like, is this for a month? Is this for 2 months? Like, how long is it going to take? But if we understand the problem that we're solving and we understand the solution, we should understand about how long it's going to take in order for someone to see success. And if it is a longer one, we can break it into phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, whatever you want. But then afterwards, someone's going to graduate. or they're going to be ready to kind of move on, but they still may want to be in your world as a coach. This is going to be the best thing. This is going to be the best time to then open up a lower ticket. But because it's coming after someone is paid, call it higher ticket, call whatever you want, but a more expensive program, you're going to be able to have a higher price on your lower ticket because they may go from $500 a month to then $250, right? Feel like they're getting a massive deal. But the other thing is the people that have gotten through your main program, they've proven to be great clients. So moving them into your maintenance program, continuity program, whatever you want to call it, they're still going to be great clients. So you're just going to have less headaches. So that's number one. That's number one. If we're feeling burned out, if we're feeling like we need a bit of rhythm, let's look at our offerings and let's just be as honest as we can. Try to look at them from an outside perspective. And if you were coaching yourself on this, would you still have all of these things? Okay. Maybe you have a couple variations of one is nutrition only, and one is nutrition and fitness, right? That was something that Darlene had. But she also had a few other things that kind of helped her get rid of. Okay. And if we need to move people to your higher one, give them the VIP treatment for 2 months at their current price. Like there's lots of ways to move people into it and show them that's going to be awesome and they'll want to stay. Okay. So number one, look at our offerings. Number two, this is like the trap of chaos. And this is probably the reason why most coaches burn out. And simply stated, it is constant task switching. You might be working on social media to help drive awareness, but then a client messages you, it pings you. So you go and you answer that message. And then you try to get back into the social media thing, but then something else catches your attention. You have an idea. And so you move on to that other thing. And then you end up in Coach Catalyst. And so you start coaching some clients. You need to look at some check-ins. And so we don't have a consistent rhythm and we're just ping-ponging. We're bouncing all over the place based upon wherever our brain is taking us. And a lot of the data around task switching, right? A lot of the research around task switching is every time we change a task, it takes time for our brain to ramp up to that new task. So if we're working on something creative and when we go away because the client messages us and we want to provide a great experience, so we try to respond back to them as quickly as possible. Now we come back into that creative thing. It's going to take some time, 10, 15, 20 minutes to get back into a rhythm. So we're going to be really slow. So it's just going to take us a lot longer to accomplish tasks because we're going away and coming back and we never get into that rhythm. And you guys know that rhythm, you know that flow. Once you've been in something long enough, it becomes easier. I talk with our coaches at our facilities around program design about this a lot, right? When you sit down to program design and build stuff for clients, you shouldn't just do one. You should do all of them that you have to do at one time because the first one's going to take you, call it 15 minutes. The second one's going to take you 12. The third one's going to take you 10. The fourth one's going to take you 8. The fifth one's going to take you 5. The sixth one's going to take you 5, right? Seventh one's going to, and so like you're going to get faster and faster and faster and faster because your brain is going to get in that mode and you're going to be thinking about how to accomplish that stuff, how to accomplish that task. And so just staying in it. So we want to think about being proactive in this rather than reactive. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in that rhythm here in the next point. So the chaos trap. If you feel like you're in chaos, ping-ponging all over the place, this is going to be for you. So we can fix it with some rhythm, right? We have lots of rhythms in life, right? So there's rhythms to our daily life. There's rhythms to our monthly life. And when we're in rhythm, when we're in that flow, things just feel easy. But when we're out of it and we're all over the place, things feel really hard. And I think a rhythm gives us a sense of control. And when we're in the virtual world and we don't have that appointment with the client to show up face to face, we can lose pieces of that. And so I think rhythm is even more important in a virtual type of setting. So it all starts with your calendar. And we use the calendar to start batching different times of my workday on what I am going to work on. And this could really be a whole day of training. But you start with your big rocks. If there's personal things that you want to accomplish, if there's time with your family, if there is workouts, if you have to meal prep or things like that, let's block that stuff off. So taking care of yourself, taking care of your health, taking care of your family, all of those come first. And so let's take that time out of the calendar. Okay, cool. Now, as a business owner, right? Even if you're a solopreneur, you are a business owner. If you're the only coach, you are a business owner, and you need to think about your coaching as a business, right? And so a business has certain aspects. One aspect is awareness, right? We need to be driving awareness around what we're doing so that what we do and what problems we solve, right? People find out that we can help them. So we need to be increasing that audience. And that's a little bit different for everybody. It might be email marketing, it might be social media, wherever your influence is, right? We're building that audience, building that awareness. So we should have a block that's based around that creative endeavor. Maybe that is building out socials and planning socials. Maybe that is crafting emails for a newsletter, right? Or to our list, or follow up sequences, or things where we're helping move people along the buyer's journey, right? Because we want to take people from, hey, they know who we are and they know what problems we solve, to maybe test driving some of our content. Maybe they're downloading a lead magnet. Maybe they're joining one of our low cost programs or things like that. And then eventually they become a client, right? We need to bring people through this journey. And if you struggle with any of that stuff, go back to last month. We talked about it the entire month of August, and we laid out a nice plan for you. But one block should be around that, whatever that time frame may be. And for all of our kind of rebels out there, I'm kind of in this camp where I like to be spontaneous and I like to be creative. But what I've found is having these structured blocks, even if I don't do the thing I'm supposed to do in that block, I can't do anything else. So if you just want to sit in that block and you want to stare at the wall, that's fine. That's a win, especially early on. That is a win. Because eventually you get so bored at staring at the wall that you actually start getting the work done. The other thing that I found very helpful in my brain is music, specifically music without words. And I like beats. I like hip hop beats and things like that, that just on repetitive loops. It helps me get into a brain space to be able to execute on the things that need to get done. So that can help with it as well. So one block is going to be around that content creation. Okay. And that there might be multiple blocks. You'll have to decide on how these fit throughout the day. I'm just going to kind of give you the blocks, and then you figure out how they fit in your day. The next blocks are going to be potential live meetings, right? That might be you're going live in a challenge or live in a group, or that might be a coaching call or a group coaching call, anything where you're going to be live and you're going to be coaching and educating and helping clients. Yeah, those are going to be blocked. And then your calendar is probably going to dictate those, right? You might have blocks when you do all of your calls. Maybe it's mornings, maybe it's afternoons, whatever, right? But you have all of those in there. And then we have a rhythm around daily coaching blocks. So how do we actually execute on what we've promised, right? Because every business, we need to get clients, and then we need to serve those clients at its simplest level, right? We need to tell people about what we're doing. We need to show them that we can help them with the problem that they have. Right? We need to present them with the solution. We need to move them into our coaching program. And then in our coaching program, we have to deliver on that promise, right? So that's coaching. So having a rhythm around coaching can be really, really important. I think a lot of coaches just maybe go into Coach Catalyst and they bounce around, right? They're just kind of looking at things. But Coach Catalyst was built in a very, very specific way to give you the tools to be able to coach efficiently. I'm going to talk about some of that stuff here in a second. But let me kind of talk about the hierarchy too when we are coaching. Number one is going to be messaging and communication. There are going to be messages that have come in that you need to respond to. Clients have questions, right? Clients have concerns, and we need to respond to those. Personally, I like 3 message blocks throughout the day. And this can be all part of your coaching block, and maybe you have 3 coaching blocks throughout the day, whatever. But as part of that coaching block, we want to answer messages. I like 3 times during the day, one earlier in the day, one middle of the day, and one end of the day. The mistake I see a lot of coaches make, and one of the reasons why I think we live in a state of chaos, is we're trying to respond to messages as quickly as we possibly can. And this is with good intention. This is because you want to provide an incredible service to your clients. But the caveat here is when we do that, we are setting the standard that we are going to respond to messages almost as quickly as they come in. That means we're responding to them late at night. That means we're responding in the evening when we should be doing other things, middle of the day, all of that. We're training our clients that we respond to messages immediately, and that's the expectation that client will start to have. So if we do that from the beginning, we may think that we're providing incredible customer service, but ultimately we're setting a standard that's unsustainable. So that's why I like the 3 blocks during the day. 1 block in the morning. So any messages that came in the evening or overnight, we hammer those out. Cool. Those clients, they may then respond at some point, and that's where we'll hit our middle of the day block and respond back to those clients. And then we're going to hit the end of the day block so that we respond to anything that came in throughout the day. All right. So we have 3 times during the day when we're responding to clients, and we just go inbox 0 every single time. That way we're providing an incredible experience, but we're able to control the communication, or I should say the cadence of communication. We can respond, clients can respond whenever they want. So it gives that autonomy, right? And allows us to be asynchronous, but we're also getting back to them in an effective manner. And as part of our onboarding, if we lay out, this is our communication structure, right? So that we can provide an incredible experience for clients. This is the structure we've built out to communicate with them. The client will understand, hey, if I send in a message at 10 a.m., coach is going to get back to me at 11, 11:30 or whatever that time frame is. So communication is that first part. The second part is, what are your deliverables? Are they creating workout plans? Are they hitting puberty again? Are they creating workout plans? Are they creating nutrition plans? Is it following up with check-ins or things that the clients have filled out? But as part of your program, you should understand what your deliverables are. I think a very nice basic structure is having your clients check in weekly or every other week with some sort of extensive form. We're filling out a number of questions. We may have a couple assessments on that. We might have some open-ended text-based questions. We might have some scale-based questions, things like that the client is going to be answering. And then we're going to be going in, digging in, and giving extensive feedback on what we're seeing from our end as a coach, right? That's probably going to be a core deliverable for a lot of online virtual coaches, weekly, bi-weekly, whatever you decide is the best frequency. If you are delivering workouts as well, we're following up with workouts. We're checking any metrics. We're checking any data points from that workout. Maybe the client sent in videos that they need feedback on, right? And we're giving feedback on all of that stuff, right? This is a business, right? This isn't just give workouts, give nutrition, and you're done, right? There is a follow-up process. There is a coaching process. And in the online virtual world, this is the process. So most coaches are kind of clicking in through their clients, trying to figure things out. But we built this thing inside of Coach Catalyst called notifications. And that allows you to quickly and easily go through things. And I believe it should be a nice piece of your process as far as checking in with clients. So what I think is a nice process, after I've done the communication piece, then I'm going to go into my notification center. And I'm going to share my screen with you here so you can see some of it. And this is a test account, so it's not going to have a ton of data in it, but you guys will get the picture. So let me share my screen here. All right, so inside of Coach Catalyst, you're going to go into your notifications. This notification center was built to give you feedback, or really give you the list of everything that has happened in the platform and everything that has not happened, right? Everything that was assigned that didn't happen. So let's say workouts is a big key in your coaching practice. I would then come here and I would filter by workouts. So I can see any workout that has been completed since the last time I checked this. I might then click on that workout. That's going to open up a new screen. It's going to take me directly to that workout. I can see any data points from that workout. I can see any comments from that workout, history, all of that. I can give the client feedback. Super simple right here. Click the message button, give them some feedback if you want to on that one. And then I can archive it, which essentially marks it as done. Cool. Check. Done. Now I do that with all my workouts. Maybe forms are a big piece of what I do. So I would see a form. That's maybe a check-in form. And then part of my process is to give the client feedback on their check-in form. So this is for me to then give feedback. So I would come in here, I would look at the form, look at their account, all of that stuff, and make sure that I'm providing a great check-in. Now, for check-ins, what I've seen to be a really, really effective strategy, and coaches that are just killing it with check-ins, is doing a video check-in using something like Vimeo Record, something like Loom, where you're actually recording your screen. So you're going into that client's account right through here, and you might be talking about their nutrition, right? If you're pulling in macros, those kind of things, you're talking about their macros this week, maybe their food log, food list. Then maybe you're going into their metrics and you're talking about any data points that they're putting in. If you're talking about sleep or body fat percentage or weight, you're talking about that. And then you're potentially coming into the journey here and looking at their accountability, looking at how well they're executing on different habits and actions, but you're giving the client a visual, right? And just like you would be coaching them in person, you're just doing it in a virtual sense. I like tools like Vimeo Record. I like tools like Loom because it shows your face. It shows the screen, and you can really walk the client through it and give them your thoughts, your feedback, your advice, right? And deliver it to them. So it makes it really easy to do that check-in. But the trigger, most coaches need that trigger, or else we're just like dancing all over the place. So the trigger could be that form that they fill out, right? Now we want to follow up with the people that didn't do the thing that we wanted them to do. And that's this right here, right? That's the follow-up tab under our notification center. It's why it was developed. I want to know that Al didn't fill out his form yesterday. Cool. I'm then going to send him a quick message that says, hey, Al, I saw you didn't fill out your form yesterday. I'm going to move it to today. Can you get that done for me today? Right. And then he's, oh, yeah, absolutely. I just got busy. I'll get it done for you later. Awesome. Cool. Then when Al fills that form out, it'll populate my notification settings, and then I'll do his check-in. Right. And so now I followed up with Al here. So I'm going to archive that. And now that one's done. Okay. Or maybe I want to leave it in here until he gets it completed. Whatever your strategy may be. Cool. Maybe I want to check in clients that had workouts scheduled for yesterday. Cool. And do a little bit of investigation there. So again, these are your triggers to then do these follow-up processes. It just prevents you from going through every single client's account and you're trying to figure out what's going on, where is everyone at, right? If we start big picture, what is the program? What is the client journey that we have them going through? What problem are we solving? How are we helping them solve that problem? Right? We have our kind of coaching methods, all that's laid out. And then we get in for our coaching block. I handle my communication. I come in here and then I'm going to check out these things, right? I'm going to see who's done what and do my follow-up process and whatever that may look like for a coach. Maybe I have some more lengthy type check-ins based upon forms that are people are filling out. But again, like it's built into my day-to-day. I'm using these as triggers to then do those follow-ups. And then I don't need all these like checklists all over the place. Based on what the client does, that's going to inform me on what I need to do. Right? We're going to move through that process. Okay. And so we have our block that we do for audience building, content creation, call it education, whatever you want to just increase our reach. We have our coaching block. And then we have like an admin block, which we're just going to handle any sort of like email, backend, building systems, automations, things like that just make our lives easier. Right. And not every block has to happen every day. Right. You probably should have a coaching block or a couple different coaching blocks every single day. If coaching is full-time for you, if coaching is part-time, then maybe they're every other day, or maybe they're just one in the evening or something like that, whatever makes sense for you. But these are the different blocks that we should have inside of the calendar. And then once something random comes up during the day, you have a couple options, right? One is to, in your brain, just say, hey, I'm going to do that during that block. So I'm not going to task switch and go to it. I'm just going to keep working on what I'm working on. One thing that I do is I have a piece of paper that sits by me all day long. And when things come into my brain, boom, they go on the piece of paper. And then I can process that later, put them into their blocks later in the week. Right? And you can start blocking these off on your calendar. And now when you get to that block on what you need to do on that day, if you're feeling like you just don't want to do it, sit there and stare at the wall. Okay, but you don't get to do anything else. And give it a good 2 weeks. Give it a good month and see how it works for you. But my hunch is it will take a lot of this chaos of bouncing all over the place and give you a structure you need to build your business, serve your clients at a really high level, and then also continue to improve the engine, right? The automations, the things on the back end that'll help provide an incredible experience for your clients. So hopefully that was helpful for you, right? And just starting to think about this kind of stuff, but it starts a big picture, fewer offers, block your coaching time, block your creation time, block your admin time, and then execute it ruthlessly, week in, week out, week in, week out. But it's all about finding a rhythm, just like you would help your clients find a rhythm around nutrition and fitness that they can stick with for the next 6 months, 12 months, 5 years, 10 years. We should be thinking about the same thing with business building, right? What can you commit to every single week and execute ruthlessly? And yes, this is tied in the month of client experience, but I think if you as a coach have your process dialed in and you continue to work on your process, your client experience is going to get better and better and better. It's going to be hard to provide a really, really solid client experience if you're like a ping pong ball bouncing all over the place, living in a state of chaos. And I think many times that then leads to burnout because we just feel like we're out of control. And it magnifies itself as we get more and more and more and more and more and more clients. So if you're early in your coaching career, early in your coaching business, start setting these things up now so that you have more capacity to take on clients. Because if you have good systems, you might be able to take on 40 or 50 and still feel really good. Whereas a coach that doesn't have any systems will start feeling chaos at 20, right? So hopefully this was helpful for you. Hopefully this gave you some ideas on how to improve your own processes so you can ultimately provide clients with a better experience. My name is Trevor, the CEO of Coach Catalyst. I'm here every Tuesday at noon Central, and I'll see you again next week. Later.